Ready? Okay.
I might have to add it. Yeah, it's going.
Okay, it's going. All right, so what is today's date? It's July 29th,
Hmm.
2023. And there's been some situations that have been occurring, and John ended up doing a big rant video. I am going to address in my own rant video some things and be done with this. Uh, John and I are busy in rebuilding the lab, and uh, so let's just get to it, huh? There have been, over the years, multiple people that have accused me of being a CIA plant, and that I have been blocking John from doing his work, or also blocking John from other people. I want to make it explicitly clear that I am not a CIA plant. I totally support what John is doing. And if anything, I want to be an air plant. See, air plants are unique in this 3D because they are a life form, a carbon based life form that doesn't require energy from another life form. This body that I have requires that I kill some other life form and use the life form's energy in order for this body to continue to exist. And uh, I will get into that whole concept and what it means to consciousness and what we can do as consciousness that are in these bodies, these machines, and hopefully we can change that system. But I really want to talk to the Hutchison junkies. I was never a Hutchison junkie. I knew nothing about John Hutchison until someone that I was dating wanted to contact John with some Madagascar quartz crystals that he had that he thought could be useful in John's work. And um, he didn't feel that John would respond to him. And he thought because I was a television producer and reporter with my own show, that John might respond to me. I just kind of blew it off for a couple weeks. The guy asked again. I sent out one email, and when I did a Google search, and Tim Ventura came up on the top of the list. I sent him an email, and Tim was gracious enough to give John my email, and that's when John and I started communicating. And that was back at the very end of 2008. 2008. It was in 2009 when we started really talking with each other. So, uh, John and I have basically been in contact for 14 years because in May of 2009 he came to Minnesota. I did an interview with him, created some power cells with him, and did that video. And a separate interview, did the March of the Hobbits show. And so he stayed with me for about a year. And then uh, one of these people that ended up accusing me of being a CIA plant set things up to make it a problem for him in Canada, and he had to go back to Canada. And that's when the BP oil disaster was going on. I asked John if he could do anything about it. He didn't know. We had plans to uh, just break down his lab and bring it to Minnesota. And I went out there. I borrowed a farm pickup truck, actually traded my vehicle use, the car I had, the friend let me use the pickup truck. I borrowed a cargo container and dragged myself out to Canada and had difficulty in actually getting into Canada. Uh, Weird stuff like they looked at me as a transient. I had to drop the trailer off and put it in storage, and then I could come back in. And I spent time with John in testing in his lab there whether or not he would be able to transmutate the oil that was happening at the BP oil disaster. We had people that actually sent us sample water that had tar balls in it, and long story short, it was effective. I videotaped all of this, which hasn't been put on the internet. It was something that we needed as proof that he could actually do this. We had it independently tested, and we packed up and sent some of his lab off to Minnesota. John sold his backup lab to a place, Gobi, in Germany, and 9 pallets of equipment went off there, and we went down the Gulf of Mexico with a beat-up truck that broke down all along the way. Down in Arizona, my mom actually paid for a new radiator to be put in so we actually could get down there. We did this without any monetary gain. No one paid us for this. I convinced John that if you had the ability to help people, that you need to do that. And he finally agreed, and he got the adventure of his lifetime, is what he says. And when we went down there, I set up the different places for us to do the work on the Gulf of Mexico, the different private properties. I had the water taken before we got there and had it analyzed, and then after we treated the water, we had it analyzed again. And all of those reports, I believe John has put up on SlideShare. The vast majority of the videos that I did with my TV camera down there, they haven't been posted. And in the middle of all this, in working on the Gulf of Mexico, and we had different challenges down there, and we had someone from the Navy come, and he's been supportive of what we're doing, and got a hold of the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard was using Corexic, which is really a bad thing to use. It would break up the oil into little tiny particles, so then it would get into the food stream, into the water column, and get in and contaminate further. But during that time, Fukushima blew, and John and I, and there's a couple people that were working with us down there in the Gulf of Mexico, looked at the video of Fukushima blowing up, and we said, this is it. This is the end. And it's not going to happen today, tomorrow, but it's going to happen, because the amount of radioactive contamination that blew out of Fukushima is astronomical. Chunks of plutonium blew out. And I did a video saying it was 10 times the amount to kill everything on Earth. It wasn't. It was 1,000 times the amount. And so we focused on that. And John, having worked with the Star Wars program and with the shielding, he altered what we were doing on the Gulf of Mexico while we were there to create some shielding. And there've been other independent people that actually picked up the shielding that was on the radar. We then went back home to Minnesota to modify and to refine what we were doing with the elimination of radioactive contamination. And all along the way, I was video recording and making a record of the work that we were doing. Then it was about 11 months later, we decided to go to the area in the United States that was considered to be ground zero for the Fukushima fallout, which was the southern coast of Oregon, and spent 6 years there. Both John and I got extremely ill. We ended up in a building that was mold infested, and I ended up with a mold infection that became worse. It became a mycobacterium, and that's like if you have a breed of dogs like dachshunds or a boxer, those are a type of dog. Tuberculosis is a type of mycobacterium, and tuberculosis they have quasi treatments for, but they didn't have treatments for what I had. And I also ended up with it disseminating and creating tumors that became cancerous, and there was a tremendous amount of health challenges we had in Oregon. A good friend of John's, a supporter of his, came and moved us to California, the place that had been purchased for us to move into. That seller decided that they didn't want us to have a mold inspection. And so here we were with 3 40-foot long cargo containers of equipment and no place to put it. We got an empty lot, was purchased, and we have since then, over the course of these years, gotten the lab building built, and also a monolithic dome that's built out of rebar, and it is hooked up to the RF equipment and is actually the place that we live, and that is also a piece of equipment that is being used. So we have not left doing work, but John is not interested in anti-gravity, and his statement to me repeatedly is he's bored with it. And the folks that want to learn how to do anti-gravity don't seem to understand that, and they don't respect that. And he has a tremendous amount of knowledge between those ears, and that knowledge isn't from academics. It's from when he was 5 years old, and he would pick up a radio and listen to the static. The static has information in it. My brother, who's passed away, created something called an engine stethoscope, where he would hook up to the cables to the battery and listen to the static, and by listening to the static he could tell what was the problem with the engine. And I told that to John, and John was like, wow, somebody actually understands there's information in the static. I believe that he has said this on some of his videos, and people don't seem to want to listen. He also is adamant about the equipment that he uses, that it's old military vacuum tubes, and that the new stuff is junk. It's not analog, and it does not do the things necessary to transmutate the matter and to create the shielding that he does. I'm sorry, but all you folks wanting him to just come up with the secret sauce and tell him how he does it, it's not going to happen. He has given information in the best way that he knows how. He has told people over and over what you need to look at, what you need to research, and what you need to learn. Because John's not going to teach you. You know, he's not a teacher. And in my belief, he has high spectrum autism, and because of that, he is able to comprehend different things that normal people, which I don't believe are, what is normal, but they've allowed themselves to be programmed into believing that what they've learned in school is the absolute truth. And instead, John goes and reads and looks at things from 150 years ago. He replicates those experiments from 150 years ago, 100 years ago, 80 years ago, and so that he can personally understand what is happening. So here's my rant. Fuck off. You want him to tell you how he does this? I'm telling you, fuck off. Go and figure it out. He has said over and over again where to get this information. And that's, what is, we have these entitled brats out there that won't do the work to actually figure it out. We got a generation now that their car has a problem and stops running, and they end up on the side of the road, and do they even bother to look at the gas gauge to see if it's empty? Do they even pop the hood to see if the cable's connected to the battery, or if a serpentine belt has popped? No, it doesn't. They don't care. They just want to, go on their little phone and post it on the internet and go get somebody to help them or whatever it is. There's a certain amount of responsibility if you're going to live in this system and use the technology in this system. Figure it out, okay? And if you're going to talk to John, you need to talk to him with the ability to have knowledge of the things that he's already researched and done. That you've read this person or that person, and you've replicated this or that experiment, and you've got questions about that. And we had somebody that was wanting to know how to do ball lightning, Charlie, and John told him and showed him this is how he's done it, and the answer back was, isn't there something easier? And I want to come to your lab with this other person. Well, who the fuck are you, huh? That you can disrespect my husband that way. That he has given you the information that you've asked for, and you come back and act like he's withheld an easier way. Wow, So that's my rant about the people with the Hutchison effect, the Hutchison junkies. And I'm going to kind of discuss why we have these challenges with humans in this 3D, in this system. And you gotta understand, and you gotta listen, and you've gotta get out of your fucking paradigms right now and listen to what I have to say. Years ago, I taught Christian religion. I have read that Bible front to back over and over again. I could quote you the verse and the chapter and the page and all this kind of stuff. And I could tell you, what it is that you need to do in your life to be a good Christian. And then I had two of my kids end up in what I consider a Christian cult. And I tried to get them out of that. They were told that they had to confess the sins of their parents in order for them to be accepted into the family of God, and then they would be provided new spiritual parents. Yeah, I know, pretty fucked up, huh? So, when in going through that, one of my daughters came back home with us. The other one did not. Dug her heels in, and it's been decades, and I'm finally reopening communications with her. And she's no longer part of that group, but I am also not coming and accusing her of anything, because she got lied to. She got used, and I'm not a person to throw that in your face. I mean, she has her life to live, and I appreciate that she at least has come out of that cult. Now, what does that have to do with fucking anything that I'm talking about? There happens to be information in all of the religions that is very important to the science, to the physics of this 3D. And behind me, on a 40-foot long cargo container wall, the cargo containers we have in here are basically big rooms, is a whiteboard. And across that is a piece of information from the Essenes, from the Master Essenes, the inside circle, the government of the Essenes. The Essenes were people that lived in Nazarene. And so the person that Christianity says is Jesus, that's not his real name. His real name, it could be a couple of different things, Yeshua, but there was no Jesus. Jesus was a name that was given later on, once Constantine took over, and the original Christian church was known as the Yahushua, the Yahoos, and they knew how to transmutate matter. They knew how to transport matter like their own bodies from one location to another. And they knew these things because of what this Yahushua guy did. And one of the things that he did was that he went out and first of all, he never ate meat. That's interesting, because when you eat meat, you are altering your own chemistry in your own body. And I stopped eating meat because it almost killed me doing the Atkins diet. I ended up having an operation and having 4 body parts removed in my abdomen because of all the meat that I was eating. So I didn't stop eating meat for a religious purpose. I did it for a health purpose. And then find out, oh, that guy, that Yahushua guy, he didn't eat meat. Oh, I guess, okay. But then he went to the next step and he didn't eat. He fasted for like 40 days out in the desert. Yeah, okay. And he comes back, and by the way, he was about 55 years old, not 30 years old. And he got into this political argument, and they ended up, crucifying him. Now there's all this debate on whether he died or not, and he got stuck with a spear, and it was an interesting little change that was put into the Bible to control people, which was the original scripture was what the Bible tells us is that as he's hanging up there dying, he says, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." But that's not what he actually said. He said, "Father, forgive them not, for they know what they do." So, wow, that kind of changes everything, huh? So, I guess Christians aren't supposed to be doormats. And when people do stuff, they fucking know what they're doing. Like when people accuse me of being a CIA plant, they fucking know what they're doing. And when they send private emails to my husband John saying, "Don't show this to Nancy," but everybody says that Nancy's trying to block your work and block anybody working with you. Yet, Mark, you fucking know what you're doing. And it's like, forgive you not, for you know what you do. So, there you go. Anyway, so, this Yahushua guy did things that other people in our current time frame know how to do. This fasting, these shamans, these these monk people that get together and they chant and get in a circle and stuff levitate, and they change matter, and they can supposedly walk through doors or put their hands on people, and this energy goes in and fixes those bodies. So maybe there's something to do with physics involved in all this. And what's the physics involved in all this? Well, we got air plants. And we got air plants that all they require is, spritz them with some water, soak them in some water, and they live and they grow and they sprout and all this kind of stuff, but they don't have to eat somebody else. They don't have to eat another plant. You see this body right here is just going to be plant food. All right? That's all it is plant food. And why is that? It's because let's go back to the very, very, very beginning. Let's consider potential. Potential is voltage. Ball lightning. Static electricity. Wow. So consider every fucking potential there is. And it's in absolute stasis with no fucking potential. Nothing. Okay? Is it a ball? I don't know. Is it, split like this? Who the hell knows? But let's say that there's something that is called the Age of Ages. It's back there on the board. Go look it up. Master Scenes. It's you can go to reluctant-messenger.com and look up the Essene documents. And it starts with, from the Age of Ages is the eternal thought. And the thought is the word, and the word is the act, and these three are one. Well, what the fuck does that mean, huh? Thought, action is motion. So thought is motion. Well, that's interesting. And word, what is a word? Well, I'm speaking words. So, wow, God spoke this universe into existence, huh? Oh, it was a thought. And what was that thought? Well, think about it, physics folks. Can motion exist as a potential? Motion exists as movement. So, movement had to die from the potential, had to go down into the void, into the nothingness, come back, get resurrected, and guess what? Made a Mobius. I'll tell you why it's a Mobius, okay? So he comes back, and the motion comes back, makes a Mobius, and touches itself, and at that point, it says, I am. And what is the name of God? I am. And who are you? You think, therefore, I am. So watch what you think. So now we have this Mobius, the infinity symbol. Oh, gee, that goes back to the ancients and stuff. Like, do they fucking know this shit? How about the yin-yang symbol? If you take a Mobius and you make a Mobius heart out of it, it kind of collapses and makes a ball. I actually did a video on that. You might want to watch it. And you do that, and you've got this yin-yang symbol. But what are the dots? They're EVOs, you dumb fucks. They're EVOs without their tether, you dumb fucks. Don't you see that? So now we have a white dot in a black background. We have a black dot in a white background. This is our yin-yang symbol, isn't it? Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's see. Anybody know what cavitation is? Anybody know that that's how EVOs are created, is by cavitation? So what if, just fucking what if, one of those dots is hydrogen and the other dot is antimatter, antihydrogen? Gee, that would make sense. You ever taken a Mobius? Like, I made a Mobius piece of dough and I stuck it in some hot oil just to see what kind of motion is created in there. Why don't you try doing that and you might be able to understand what I'm saying. So, anyway, I don't want to get frustrated with idiots, and hopefully you get through this with me. Hopefully I get through this. So, also from the ancients and also from religion, and see, like, Christianity just kind of leaves Lilith out, doesn't really talk about Lilith. Lilith was created at the same time Adam was created. Adam is A-T-O-M, atom. Got it? Adam is atom. And at the same time, Lilith is created. Now, as the story goes, Adam wanted to dominate Lilith. And Lilith was like, nah. You know, they got this equal stuff going on. Okay? And so Lilith goes off and she does her own thing for a while, right? But she's always trying to come back here and trying to fix things. And there's actually writings that tend to prove that Lilith is the Holy Spirit. Funny, huh? Lilith is the Holy Spirit. You know, down in Pentecost, you know, after the Jesus dude rose from the dead and they got up in the upper room and they're all praying and they're all like having this time, and all these tongues of fire comes down and hit him on the head, and there's the room's full of this tongues of fire, and then these guys go off and do all this transmutation shit. I wonder if that was really what's going on. Lilith, the original mate of hydrogen. But see, hydrogen had a fucking ego. You hear that, guys? Hydrogen had too much testosterone. You know, it was just so pumping full of his fucking self. He just couldn't handle having an equal. So he had to be reiterated. And Eve is helium. Got it? Understand? And what is our sun? Our sun is helium and hydrogen having their day, having their sex. Okay? They're reacting back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, huh? And what are they putting out? They're putting out motion, light frequencies, what we say is warm sunshine, yeah? Okay. And so carbon-based life forms on this planet, which are simply reiterations of hydrogen. All you dumb physics fucks, there's only one element, okay, and everything is a reiteration of it. Okay? And the harmonics, which is, by the way, said back there. Okay, there it's the word is the act, and these three are one, and the eternal law. Law is the relationship of one thing to another. Harmonics is the relationship of one thing to another. Okay? And the law is with God, and the law comes out of God, so the harmonics come out of the fucking Mobius. Okay? And all things are created by law. Now this is a really cool one. Let me go to the other side. And without the harmonics, the law, nothing that exists is created. So what exists that isn't created? Do I got to tell you? A potential thought. Okay? You know, like if you want to move your arm from here to here, okay, got to do that. That's a thought. And then you got to figure out the harmonics in order to move your arm from here to here. Because without that, you can't do it. And by the way, if you go from point A, one dimension, to point B, two dimension, you draw a line. I'm drawing a line. I am drawing a line, and I'm making the 2D. But what's happening is that a 3D electromagnetic field, it's created. So, woo, coming out of the potential, making a motion along a line creates a 3D electromagnetic field. Oh my God, a chosen thought creates the 3D. And it's all there right in physics. And you guys sit there and say, religion's nothing. Yeah, well, you know what? You're fucking nothing either, because you're so damn fucking stupid sitting in your paradigm, you can't see it. You can't see all these symbols that are on all of these different ancient buildings, the petroglyphs, the Rosslyn Chapel with their symbols that are actually Siametics. Wow! You know, boy, but you know, you're just so full of yourself because you got your degrees and you got your PhDs and you know, you're a man. That's even better. Yeah, right. You're a man, you know shit. Okay, so I don't know where it's going with that rant. Oh, I got it. Okay, so hydrogen decides that he just can't get along with his soulmate, Lilith, antimatter, and and then our good academics in physics tells us that you know, you put matter and antimatter together, that it's explosive. It's like boom. Yeah, if you don't have the right harmonics, obviously, huh? Ooh. If you got hydrogen, matter, wanting to dominate antimatter, and you throw them in the same room, you know what? It's going to be worse than you fuckheads that have been calling me a CIA plant and putting me in the same room with those people. Uh-huh. That's going to be explosive, right? We're talking lack of harmonics. Yep. Okay. So, we have hydrogen. First reiteration is helium. And then we go off and we've got other different elements being created in this 3D by the choices made of hydrogen, helium, right? And we've got personalities in every single one of those elements, those reiterations. One of my favorite is carbon. And carbon's actually talked about in the Bible, Book of Revelations. Carbon is the whore of Babylon. What is Babylon's in 3D, you dumb shits? And Babylon is what we're existing in here. And the whore of Babylon is carbon. Why? Because the whore of Babylon just likes to fuck with everybody and create new molecules. That's carbon. And life is carbon-based. And life is only concerned about getting enough energy from another life form so that this life form, or the mosquito life form, or the dog life form, or whatever life form that consciousness is in, gets to continue in this fucked up series of life and death. And it was warned in the Garden of Eden. You know, think about that. The Garden of Eden was a place that Adam could get any kind of energy. Every fruit of all those trees were available. And he was told, but don't eat of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, don't go for that, because you'll surely die. Oh, I used to piss me off so much. I used to say, well, I wasn't there. Why am I getting punished for that? Why am I going to have to die because this stupid Adam and Eve ate some damn apple that had the knowledge of good and evil in it? Okay, well, yeah, all right. So actually, because this body that I have, and you could say that my consciousness is a fractal of the original consciousness. This body is a fractal of that Adam and Eve, and that would probably be correct to say that. Yeah. So, so actually, I was there. Okay, and you got the serpent going, oh yes, eat from that, and you'll surely be like gods if you eat from the knowledge of good and evil. And so, yeah, action and reaction, got consequences. So you got the knowledge of good and evil. And why is that so bad? Because the knowledge of good and evil is in opposition to law, to harmonics. The good king says, oh, I am going to go over to that territory, and we're going to go get those resources over there, and we're going to have war so that my people can have more food. It's called resource guarding, like my dog does. My dog likes to resource guard, like this whole fucking system likes to resource guard. It's the whole reason that we have war, is because we're resource guarding, because we got to get resources so that we can put them into these bodies, and so we can continue, and we don't give a fuck what happens to other life forms, right? That's what the knowledge of good and evil is. I'm going to be a good person, and I'm going to provide food for my family. But, I have to ignore the fact that a cow's got to die, or even a plant has to die. I want to be an air plant. I love air plants. Look at this. Please, let me be an air plant. I don't want to make anything else die in order for me to live. Yeah, but my molecules aren't that way. Ah, maybe these shamans know some shit, huh? Maybe this Yahushua Jesus dude knew some shit that your body doesn't have to have to kill something in order for it to have the energy. Wow, why don't we just kind of go back and learn some stuff, huh? Yeah, okay. So, where was I? Let's see, we got our research guarding, and we got our, yeah. So we're sitting on we're fractal. We're a fractal of hydrogen, and we also have an extremely thin line of temperature that carbon-based life forms can exist on. When you understand the reality of the difference of temperature, and at the point where there is no motion, there is no temperature. And we can go way past 70 degrees Fahrenheit and burn the fuck out of everything, can't we? I mean, when you really look at the physics of it. And so we got this planet that's just at this right distance from Adam and Eve, helium and hydrogen. Just this perfect distance. And it has water on it too. Isn't that interesting? I can talk about water, but in another video, maybe. So we got carbon-based life forms able to exist. And are there aliens? Possibly, but I really, really, really doubt if they're carbon-based. Because when you think about just exactly what is necessary for a carbon-based life form to exist. Um, it's this very, very, very thin line, and it makes way more sense that we're just not top of the food chain. Humans aren't. Uh, it makes way, way more sense that the ancient cultures figured out this shit that I'm trying to tell you. They got the fuck off the planet before it hit one of these cycles that happen every 3,500 years and everything blows up. And humans go into the caves, and whatever's left over of this life on this planet has to like regenerate and do resource guarding. Okay, so it's way more possible that our alien UFO spacecraft are simply more advanced humans or a more advanced species. Maybe their species got all fucked up and got killed, and what was left over was some human garbage that was sitting out there in the caves. And then maybe they tried to come in and genetically modify us. That's very possible. We're really not that smart. Okay, we're way too into ourselves. We're way too into our own egos and our own beliefs that we're just like king shit. We're just the top of the food chain and everything. So that's very possible that there was attempts at genetic modifications of the life forms. It's possible that that we were all Bigfoot or something. Who knows? I don't know, but I think that's the very first step that has to be taken, which is I don't know. I don't know, and by saying that, you keep yourself outside of a box that you create, a box that society creates, a box that academics creates. And by saying, I don't know, and then saying, let me look at this, let me think about this, let me consider the possibilities. By doing that, you then can actually learn. Because the only thing that you have received from schooling and from participating in human society is the ability to take your energy and use it to get some other energy from another life form. That's all you've done. And I don't fault anyone for that, because that's been our survival mechanism to keep the human species going. I don't fault the powers that be for doing all kinds of crazy shit like this damn fucking COVID and COVID vaccine, because guess what? No one does something because they think it's a bad idea. Okay? They don't think it's a bad idea. They don't think they're evil. But they don't understand harmonics. That Jesus dude said something. He said, they were asked, well, we got all these laws and all these systems. You see, people put in these laws and stuff in order to try to create a containment of chaos. That's what government is for, is to contain chaos. And so when we have a government, like in the United States, we say there's no more kings, and the kings aren't going to be going out and doing this resource guarding and doing all these fights with all the nobles and the peasants, and we want to change that system. We want something different. Okay, but we never actually, the humans in the United States didn't really understand that we've got a responsibility. If we're going to do that, we have a responsibility to each other, and the big responsibility is do unto others as they do unto you, or don't do unto others that you don't want to have done to you. So, like, you want somebody to accuse you of being a CIA plant, and you want somebody to accuse you of manipulating your spouse, and you want someone to accuse you of being, you know, all these horrible things that I got accused of. But so that person violated the harmonics, okay? And by doing so, um, made a disharmonic, so that there could not be a joining of ideas and a working together. And when you are in contact with any other life form, understand that you need to respect that life form and respect at what point that life form is at. Are they a baby? Are they an adult that simply has been trained in a manner of destruction and of ego, instead of trained to create harmonics, to create the necessary environment for there to be an openness of ideas, an exchange of ideas, and a synergism. Because hydrogen is a fucking asshole. Hydrogen refused to allow Lilith, antimatter, an equal say, an equal participation. This Jesus dude said, it's not the way it is. And if you really look into it, he was married, he had kids. In fact, you got to look at the painting, The Last Supper, and who was at his right hand was his wife, you dumb shits. Okay? So, I'm on John's right hand. But you want to come and attack me? You have no idea how protective John is of me. Oh boy. Oh boy. So, and you have no idea how protective I am of John. Well, let me see, where am I going on this thing? So, I don't know how to convince hydrogen, my first atom, that I am a reiteration of, that it's time to change course. I don't know how to change the mind of Mark Sokol or Charlie Crawford to get them to change course, to get them to acknowledge that for every action there's a reaction, and that when you attack somebody, there's going to be a reaction. I don't know how to do that. And it kind of pisses me off, because I really wonder how it is that we got here, and I'm kind of jealous of the ancient civilizations, because it appears that they knew how to get out of this shit somehow. We got, skinwalkers? Maybe they're folks that figured out how to get out of 3D and go into 4D, and they're coming back and forth between 4D and 3D. Yeah, and I don't know if 4D is time. I couldn't tell you. I do believe that time is the measurement of motion. I do believe in the name of our nonprofit, which is 0 point harmonics, which means that from that 0 point, from the point of no motion, comes forth the harmonics. And I do believe in our ability, whether it be as an individual human consciousness or John with all this fucking equipment, that we're going to be able to get to that 0 point. And that we're going to be able to say, come on, Lilith, come on, we're done with fucking the shit up in this 3D. That it's time to stop it. And that it's time for us to have the unity of the original creation, the EVO cavitations that we see in the yin-yang symbol, for us to get retethered to fucking remember. To be remember. You know, I've always been pissed off that we got consciousness that comes in to these bodies, and we got these little babies that this consciousness comes into, and we don't remember who we are. Although there are some like little kids that I've talked to, and I've had my children, and they seem to have some kind of wisdom before they go to school. And I keep saying, before I was in school, I remember being 4 years old. I remember that I could stop the clouds. Okay? I remember that I could talk with the plants, and we communicated. I remember talking to God. I remember having tongues, which I did not get back until I decided to forget all of the programming that I had. So, you know, maybe there's hope in our children. There's always hope, you know, but yeah, we always seem to trash it, don't we? We trash it because our egos are more important. You know, John Hutchison won't talk to you, and so you got to blame his wife. Oh yeah, egos. So I wish I was an air plant. I wish I was an air plant. Then I wouldn't have legs, and I wouldn't have a mouth, and I couldn't be sitting here bitching at you to fucking grow up. We have a room that we call the Oracle Room, and haven't been in there for a while. We're waiting for cameras to come in with shielded cable. They came with their unshielded cable. We'll have cameras all over the lab, and so we'll have an 8 terabyte hard drive. Things will get recorded on, and a couple of those cameras are going in this Oracle Room that is set up with different monitoring devices, vacuum tube, spectrum analyzer, even old TV set, black and white, static. Interesting stuff in that static on that TV, and O-scope, and what else is back over there? And it's like sensory deprivation. Turn the lights off, put on some ear canceling headphones, and try to clear your brain and talk to people that no longer are stuck in carbon-based life form bodies. Ken Shoulders has responded. My dead brother responded. A couple other dead people we know responded. And videotaped the responses on the different equipment. And I want to get in there and talk to Lilith. When I ask for the original one consciousness, everything lights up. You know, it just goes crazy. Yeah, that sounds like the ego of the consciousness that is putting together this this 3D, this system of life and death. And we got a clue. We've been told clues through all these religions. Go look at reluctant-messenger.com, and you can see how the different religions and science actually are talking the same language. They're actually saying the same things. And maybe if enough of us decide that it's time to change, it'll happen quicker. In the meantime, that's what I'm working on. But I'm going to call out all you motherfuckers that try to get in between my husband and I, that want to disrespect John, ask for information, and when you're given it, come back like a crying baby and say, oh, isn't there something better than that? No, fuck you. Okay? Go off and do your own research if you can't respect my husband. And just because he deletes your emails because he doesn't want to fucking talk to you, it has nothing to do with me. That's his choice. I ain't blocking shit. I mean, I even buy him his clothes. Aren't they cool? Yeah, I like them. Yeah, except a couple of skirts he's bought. There's a couple of really fancy bohemian stretch pants that he wears in the winter. He's bought those. But, yeah, I mean, he kept raiding my closet for dresses. And so get your own. If you really like this shit, you know, you can wear it and, you know, buy it for you. I don't care what people wear, but I do care about how you treat us. I do care about respect, and I will respect you, but the moment in time that you disrespect me or my husband, you are going to learn physics, action and reaction. And Bob Grenier, Yin Gazda, you know, you disrespected me and you disrespected John. And you need to shut your fucking mouths. I mean it. Because if you don't, there's going to be a reaction to what you're saying and doing against us. So, okay, let's see. What other ranty thing can I do here? Well, let's just say it's been interesting doing this rant, and hopefully I'm not the only person, along with my husband, that it's tired of this system of life and death and the good and evil, and that we have the hope and maybe even the narcissism that we can do something to change that. That we can say, enough of this. Harmonics, the relationship of one thing to another, law, okay? Those are all the same. And that when we recognize that, maybe we can stop the mistake that was made by Adam and Eve. But see, they don't think it's a mistake. You realize that, right? Okay? They're really happy with this. This is what they created, because they're like gods, and they get to create this stuff. Adam and Eve, right? They no longer are part of the Garden of Eden. they got their own fucking sun going on, and they got their own little system, right? Who knows? Maybe the aliens are coming here to teach hydrogen a lesson. I don't know. I think it's going to be a hard one if it is. I mean, come on. Come on. And John says, any intelligent life form that can travel, 10 million light years and get to this planet aren't going to see the humans as worth something to, like, communicate with, be friends with. We're just kind of scuzzy shit, right? Because we really are scuzzy shit. Really, come on. What the fuck do we do to each other, right? So, yeah. So, we've got planted here, and we got forgotten. Ooh, that's another good one. Yeah, this carbon-based life form, I guess, we got planted here from some other planet, okay, across the galaxy, that just happens to have all those right little things that includes this very thin line of temperature that's needed for a carbon-based life form, right? And they just happened to travel like 10 billion fucking years over here and plant us here, okay? And we're just kind of leftovers from them, or like a colony or something. Oh, God. And then they forgot about us, and now they're coming back, and we're just going to join the old family, and it's all just going to be fun times, right? I'll tell you what. Any matter in this universe is stuck here in this system. And even though, you got this advanced life forms that supposedly are, we're a colony of, and they forgot about us, how many fucking million years have we been here, And so, yeah. They're just as stuck as we are. Because there's only one element. There's only one EVO. And it's atom. And atom has its anti-atom. We have Adam and Lilith. Yep. So that's my reality. I know your reality is different. Go ahead with it. But I really don't think the aliens, if they are aliens, and they've come, all these millions of light years to this planet, I think they'd be a little disappointed because we are so screwed up, okay? God. Oh, good and evil. Yeah, we got, wow. We got the powers that be that think that it's a good idea to genetically modify us through the fear of a plandemic, a planned epidemic, and that's a good thing. And maybe is. Maybe in order for the aliens to accept us, we have to be genetically modified. Who knows? Who knows? I don't really care to affect that kind of change to the bodies of that many people. I don't think that is nice. I don't think that that's harmonic. I don't think that causes us to work together and to accept each other and respect each other. No, I don't think that's true. But I do understand that they think it's a good idea. And that could be one of the excuses. And watch, that's what's going to happen. Ha! Wouldn't that be funny? Oh, we got our like alien disclosure thing going on right now with the U.S. Senate or Congress and shit. Okay, and so wouldn't it be funny that as a part of the interactions with aliens, the humans had to come up with a plan on how to shoot them full of mRNA stuff so that they could be genetically modified to be more acceptable to the aliens. Yeah, that would be interesting. That's a good story, though, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Watch it. Watch. Yeah, that might be their cover story. Doesn't matter. That mRNA is still fucking hydrogen. It's still this system. It's this 3D. This 3D. Point A to point B. Movement creates the 3D. The resultant cavitation on the Mobius. Hydrogen. Anti-hydrogen. We're over here getting fucked with. You know why? Because hydrogen didn't want to be the equal. And you know, if you look at, now take that damn Mobius, take a bread dough and roll it out, make it into a Mobius and drop it in some oil. Do it. Watch the motion. And there is some fighting going on. Watch it. Okay? Watch what's happening. Because that's what's happening here. Okay, guys. You guys have fun. Be nice to each other. Please. You know, don't kick the dog. Personally, I don't eat the meat. And I'm trying to figure out how to just eat leaves and keep it at that so that the plant can still live. Jeez. Maybe somehow, some way, this body, which is disintegrating and going to be plant food, okay? That's the result. Action and reaction, that's the result. Because this body and my choices that I chose to put in here, okay? That is going to create a nice piece of soil that then the plants can eat. Unless I do something different. And I better do it pretty quick, because I'm not getting any younger. Goodbye, folks.